Hello, I'm Jonathan Mason, and in our last video we measured how many calories that we were consuming. But not all calories are the same. As I previously stated, calories come from our food in the form of proteins, carbohydrates, fats and alcohol. Today I'm going to be talking about proteins and why it is a vital part of our diets. Proteins are the workhorses in our cells and our organs, and they are the building blocks of our body. Proteins are involved in many areas of our body, like the intestines, the skeletal muscle, the nervous system, the immune system, and the cardiovascular system. When looking at how much protein is needed by the body, nutritionists look at the lowest level of intake of dietary protein that will balance the losses from the body to maintain an energy balance at modest levels of physical activity. Now, in children and pregnant women or lactating women, these levels will change. So as a guide, I offer you this table of recommendations from the United Nations. Now, it's divided up into group, which is things that people like children or infants or adolescents, and then it's got it down to the ages, where they'll tell you the ages and then the safe protein level, and that's divided up in grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. So if you look at infants from 0.3 to 0.5 years of age, they will require 1.47 grams of protein per kilogram of body per day. And as you go further down the list of children then to adolescents, you will see the amount of protein that's required will be dropping until you get down to adults or young adults that are above the age of 19 years old. That'll be 0.75, and the same is true for the elderly. But when you get to the women, when they're pregnant in their second trimester, they will need an additional 6 grams of protein daily, and in their third trimester an extra 11. And when they are lactating for the first 6 months, they'll need an added 16 grams of protein daily, and then from 6 to 12 months they'll need another 12 grams of protein daily. One very important thing to know about proteins is they cannot be synthesized by the body. In other words, the body cannot make its own proteins. They have to be consumed. Now, excess proteins can be converted into fat for energy, but it cannot be converted back into proteins. So if it is not used as a protein, it will be converted into fat and cannot be utilized as a protein again. Now, this is not the case for carbohydrates, which we'll cover in the next video. So proteins cannot be stored, and this gives us importance to its daily consumption. Proteins are made up of amino acids, and you get a lot of different types of proteins. Proteins are found in animal products like beef, and they're also found in plants that we eat. However, not all proteins are the same, and not all of them have the same capacity to meet the body's physiological requirements. Studies have shown that the animal-derived proteins have what is considered to be a better quality and is more beneficial to the body. Now, there are 4 very important amino acids that have been identified as insufficient in plants. Whilst plants do have them, they don't have enough of the protein, and they are not as digestible as that of the animal proteins. And these amino acids are lysine, sulfur amino acids, threonine, and tryptophan. These proteins can be found in foods like rice and wheat and maize and sorghum, millet and beef. Now, beef being the most digestible, with the plant sources having less than half the digestibility. Proteins boost your metabolism and fat-burning potential. Proteins make up a lot of the vital organs, muscles and tissues, and even some hormones. Proteins are involved in just about every body function, from controlling your blood glucose levels to healing wounds. A protein deficiency can cause a number of serious problems. A study in mice showed that a protein deficiency caused premature aging. It is theorized that this holds true for human beings as well. This can lead to cataracts, heart problems, and muscle wasting. So instead of me listing out numerous problems, I'm going to tell you a few of the symptoms that you should watch out for. And they are things like a sluggish metabolism, trouble losing weight, trouble building muscle, low energy levels, poor concentration, moodiness, muscle and joint pain, slow wound healing, low immunity which can lead to frequent infections, hair loss or hair breakage, loss of libido. On the flip side, if you have problems like a chronic kidney disease, then limiting your protein intake can help, as the impaired kidney function is unable to process an excessive amount of protein like a healthy kidney. But for the average Joe, a minimum of 0.75 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight is the absolute minimum requirement. Like before, I'll be using this meal. I list the ingredients for your convenience. Now, proteins, as discussed, are found in a number of foods and not only in the meats. For this example, I'm going to assume a minimum protein intake of 55 grams. And this is the absolute minimum for a person weighing 74 kilograms with a moderate level of activity. But in most cases, it is preferential to be above the minimum. Like before and for the rest of the series, I'll be using Google search information. I have used information like this that I get from Google. These calculations, while simplistic, can be long-winded and tiresome by hand, so I have developed a free nutrient calculator that I've made up in Excel. If you want to know more about the calculator and how I'm willing to assist you in working out the nutrients that you are consuming, then please see my video on energy balance. The link is in the description box below. If you have Excel and you want the calculator, then private message me and I'll send it to you for free of charge. Google has been kind enough to give the values in 100-gram portions. So calculating the protein value is quite simple. You take the protein value of the food and then divide it by 100. Multiply it by the weight you have chosen to use in your meal, and this will give you the protein value of the food that you're going to eat. So here's an example. This meal calls for 100 grams of liver. So in this case, it's exactly like the value given by Google, as they are both 100 grams. So the value of the lamb's liver is 20 grams of proteins and is 20% of the daily value. But the recipe only calls for 45 grams of bacon. So here's how we calculate the protein value. The bacon has 37 grams of protein per 100 grams. So divide the 37 by 100 and you get 0.37 proteins per gram. Now multiply the 0.37 proteins per gram by the number of grams called for by the recipe, so it's 0.37 multiplied by 45, and this equals 16.65 grams of protein. To work out the percentage of daily value, the calculation works like this. 100 grams of bacon equals 74%. Therefore, 1 gram of bacon equals 0.74%. Then multiply this by the recipe amount of 45 grams and you get 33.3%. So after working out all the values, the total protein content of this meal is the lamb's liver, 20 grams of protein, bacon, 16.65 grams of protein, mixed veg, 1.024 grams of protein, the cabbage, 0.585 grams of protein, the squash, 0.36 grams of protein, and the cocoa or nut oil had no protein in it. This is a total protein intake of 38.619 grams of protein. Here I have assumed an intake level of 55 grams as being the minimum required. Remember, if you are very active, you will require more proteins. The caloric intake has been assumed as 2,000 calories per day. The percentage of daily values is unreliable when working with the Google information, as the numbers are so small and the rounding errors prove to be troublesome. So it is better to rely on the minimum intake as discussed earlier. To establish your own level of consumption, proteins can be difficult, but it is always preferable to err on the side of caution, as there is no storage for proteins. So rather consume more than in the minimum stated. As far as a protein consumption, this meal stacks up pretty well, with 38.6 grams of the required 55 grams in one meal of the day. So that means that during the balance of the day, one would have to find an additional 17 grams of protein. With another 2 meals, this should not prove to be too difficult. Now, in my next video, we'll be looking at carbohydrates and how many of them you need. For more on healthy eating basics, see my video, Healthy Eating Crash Course for Type 2 Diabetics, on my website. The link is in the description box below. If you have enjoyed this video or found it useful, then please subscribe, like and share it amongst your friends. If you have Type 2 diabetes, then please go to my website and view my free Reverse Type 2 Diabetes program. All the links are in the description box below. And remember to private message me if you want my free nutritional calculator. The list of the foods are in the calculator is right after this. So send in your request if you want me to update this calculator. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.